What's going on, guys? Titus here, and the Master Duel update has finally arrived. I had to wait till I got off work to do it, but we are here, and DPE is finally here to plague Master Duel existence. So for those of you who are just getting back into the game and kind of playing casually, or starting to pick it up more because you like Master Duel, say hello to this monstrosity. This card is so generic and super easy to make. It takes 4 cards in your main deck for an engine just to make this card. It only takes 2 monsters on the field to make a Verte Anaconda to fusion this card if you don't draw Fusion Destiny. He never dies. And so I am here to help some of you new players and some of you who don't necessarily know the meta all the way just yet on what counters you can put in your deck to help not lose to destroy Phoenix Enforcer. One of the first ones I want to really talk about, especially if you're still playing Tri-Brigade Zoo, because it didn't get hit in the ban list that much really at all, would be DD Crow. This card is really, really good because it can quick effect target the DPE and banish it after it uses its effect. If you play against what's called the Artifact Scythe deck, which you're going to see here pretty soon, DPE plus Artifact Scythe basically locks you out of the extra deck completely for the turn. And because Master Duel is a best of 1, that's going to be really, really hard to play against, so you're going to need to be ready for this. DD Crow kind of stops that from happening. You hit the Destroy Phoenix Enforcer to get it out of the game. So what will typically happen on a lot of boards, you'll see them set up a Baron de Fleur and a DPE, or if you're playing against, Phantom Knights, you'll see them set up a huge board with a bunch of dark monsters, set a couple Fog Blades, summon Dagda, summon DPE, and have a Verte Anaconda on board still. But what they want to do is they'll activate their DPE and pop one of their own cards so that they have enough room to finish out their plays. It's at that time where you would want to hit the DPE with a DD Crow to get it out of the game. It shuts down Scythe, and it makes it so that all you have to do is play through the interruption in the back row. We'll talk about another card. You're going to want to craft this card, Called by the Grave. It's at 2 in the OCG, it's at 1 in the TCG. This card should probably straight up be banned. This card is absolutely insane when you see it. You're probably already playing it to stop Maxi, but this card is just out of this world. Literally, you target a monster in your opponent's graveyard and you banish it, and then its effects are negated with the same original name, which includes yours until the end of the next turn. So this does include yours, by the way. So if you DPE them, you can't use DPE's effect, your DPE's effect, at all if you Called by the Grave. So remember that. Or if you hit their Scythe and you also try to Scythe luck somebody, you can't use your Scythe until the end of the next turn. So keep that in mind with Called by the Grave, but it's really, really good for getting DPE out of the grave or stopping Scythe's effect from activating so you can play the game. It also works on other generic hand traps just in general. Ash, Veiler, DD Crow, Bell, Ghost Ogre. Those types of things it works against because it banishes it and negates it, but it also negates yours. Just don't forget that. Another good one to stop the Scythe combo itself, and it's a little cheaper, is Cosmic Cyclone. Cosmic Cyclone banishes Scythe rather than destroy it, so you know where they set it because they set it off a Dagda. Unless they draw it, unless they hard drew it for turn, then you don't know. But if they set it off a Dagda, it shows you where they set it. Remember where it's set and hit it with a Cosmic Cyclone on your draw phase before DPE is able to come back, because then it will banish it. Now, the hard part is when this happens is, don't just shotgun this if DPE is still on the field. If DPE is still on the field, what you need to do is when they activate DPE's effect, you need to chain Cosmic Cyclone, because the chain will resolve backwards. Cosmic Cyclone will banish the Scythe, and then DPE also has to destroy another card on the field. Because this is a simulator, they'll probably destroy the Cosmic Cyclone because it will highlight it and show that it can be destroyed. But a lot of players who are new don't necessarily know that you can hit the Cosmic Cyclone because it is a card your opponent controls. So sometimes they're more likely to pop their own cards, which is kind of fun. We'll talk about another thing. Let's talk about Verte Anaconda. This card requires just 2 effect monsters. Super easy to do for most decks of the format. I mean, Any deck can just throw this into these 4 cards, the 2 fusion materials plus the fusion destinies and Verte Anaconda, and you can play DPE. Like most decks could do this. It's pretty easy to do. So 2 effect monsters, and then it will send for cost. You will spend 2,000 life points, and you will send a fusion or polymerization card from your deck to the graveyard. So it's Fusion Destiny. It will send Fusion Destiny, and it becomes Fusion Destiny. So you cannot use an Ash Blossom on Verte Anaconda itself. What you can do is you can use an Infinite and Permanence because it negates the monster's effect. Another thing you can do is Veiler. Effect Veiler is really good for stopping the effect of Verte Anaconda. They still have to pay the 2,000 life points, and they get hit with the Veiler, and no more DPE for them. So really, really helpful going against Verte Anaconda. You have to be aware that even if you hit the decks with hand traps, as long as they summon 2 monsters, DPE is going to hit the field. So your game has to change a little bit on how you interact with your opponent. Make sure you have in the back of your mind that Verte is always a possibility. Another card that necessarily that stops DPE and kind of stops Artifact Scythe from summoning from the graveyard is Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion. I would probably recommend crafting these just because of the Albaz stuff that's coming in the future. It'll take a little while because we just got Albaz Strike fairly recently in the TCG about a month ago, but this card is going to be very necessary in Master Duel for the Albaz cards, and it's really good against DPE. I wouldn't consider it my top choice, but if you want to be a little cognizant, words are hard, cognizant of what's coming down future in the line, Ghost Spell is a pretty good choice. Maybe to do 2 of, maybe not necessarily 3, but 2 would probably be good, so that you can stop DPE from summoning back. It's just a good card, and it works in a lot of other matchups. So, another thing that you can actually do is if they hard activate the Fusion Destiny, you can Ash Blossom a hard activation of Fusion Destiny because it sends from deck to graveyard, and Ash Blossom stops this. Another thing which is kind of interesting and a little cheeky is using Nobleman of Crossout to stop certain cards. If you cross out Designator. If you cross out Designator certain cards, it helps stop their effects. So say it's your turn, your opponent set up the Scythe DPE, they're going to activate DPE, they're going to hit Scythe, they're going to chain Scythe. Well, you play Scythe in your deck, you play cross out the Scythe, and then it can no longer work, and so the effect of Scythe can't resolve. You also can't use it as well, but it's okay. It's the end of your turn, not like called by the Grave Witch, the end of the next turn, so you can actually set up a whole combo and Scythe them on their turn if you play 2. Because remember, this is going to banish one of them. So you have to understand that. Because of a best of 1 format and not best of 3, you can't side deck and prepare. So you either have to banish your Scythe and play without it and now rely on your engine, or you play 2 Scythe, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend, and then able to full combo while playing through their Scythe with Crossout Designator. These are things you have to think about in deck building on what you want to play. Not necessarily a strategy I recommend, but if you already have crossouts, could be something you can use. Another fun tech, if you are playing the Despia or Shadal or Invoke Dogmatica Fusion engine, is playing Super Poly. This card is nuts because your opponent cannot respond. Neither player can activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation. In the OCG, it is at 2. TCG is at 3 right now, which is probably going to get hit, probably down to 2. But what happens is if they set up Verte DPE and they leave Verte DPE on the field, you can chain it and make a nice little card called Predaplant Dragostapelia. Another actually fun thing you can do is on their turn, if they hit you with DPE Scythe, or if they do that kind of thing, you can always set it, and then on their turn, if they don't pop the set, you can chain it and you can fuse away the DPE and the Scythe and make Dragostapelia. So this is pretty good. It's not going to work for every deck. It takes a fusion monster and 1 dark monster, so it's not going to work for every deck, but it can work for a lot of these fusion decks to fuse away the Verte Anaconda and the DPE to make Dragostapelia, and it's a monster negate, which is pretty cool. It's a pretty little cool tech. It's being used in Albaz Despia right now, branded Despia, whatever you want to call it. It's being used in that deck as it is right now as a super poly target because of these reasons. So it's a really good tech just to keep if this is the strategy that your deck does. If I missed any of these, please comment down below. Tell me how you are going to counter DPE as he rips through Master Duel's meta. And let me know what new deck you're playing and what you're excited to see happen in Master Duel in the future. Thanks, everyone. Please consider liking. Please consider subscribing. I will see you next time. Happy dueling, everybody.